All right, let's dive right in. Look, we all want to win at the game of life, right? We hustle, we grind, we check off all the right boxes. But what if the scoreboard we've been looking at our entire lives is just completely outdated? Welcome to this explainer. Today we're breaking down a really fascinating concept from Jin Lee's 2026 Peconaqri framework, and we are going to fundamentally rethink what winning actually means. Basically, we're taking our flat two-dimensional measure of success and upgrading it to a rich three-dimensional reality. So, grab your focus, because we are about to upgrade your success criteria in a major, major way.
To really grasp this whole paradigm shift, let's start with a brilliantly simple scenario I know you've experienced firsthand. Imagine checking into a really nice hotel room. The linens are fresh, the bathroom is totally spotless, maybe there's even a little mint on the pillow. Now, you don't spend a single second thinking about the person who stayed there the night before, right? You just gladly benefit from the pristine room you inherited. But imagine checking out and leaving an absolute disaster behind you. Broken furniture, stained walls, garbage everywhere, and then you just hand the key over with a smile. There's no way we'd ever want to be that kind of destructive guest, is there?
Yet, when we look at how our modern society defines success, a pretty glaring flaw pops up. I mean, we constantly celebrate people who maximize their personal health, pile up massive amounts of wealth, and achieve total self-expression. We put them on magazine covers, we call them winners, but society is often completely oblivious to the absolute wreckage they might leave behind in their pursuit of that victory. You see, we've been heavily trained to measure a win strictly by what happens inside our own four walls, completely ignoring the external costs.
Now, to understand how to actually upgrade this, we first need to acknowledge what we've actually gotten right. Way back in 1925, an author named Florence Scovel Shinn gave us something she called the Square of Life. It's this brilliantly simple dashboard mapping out four totally necessary dimensions for a strong personal game: health, self-expression, relationships, and prosperity. Shinn recognized that, hey, life is a game with rules, and if you neglect any one of these four sides, the entire square eventually collapses. So it is a fantastic, necessary compass, but really it only works for one human lifetime.
Let's actually zoom in on one of those specific sides for a second: prosperity. It's an absolutely essential dimension, but the source material makes a really vital distinction here. True prosperity doesn't just mean a blind, greedy accumulation of wealth so you can buy more stuff. Not at all. It means vital financial competence. It's about earning enough, sure, but also understanding how compounding debt works and learning to actually navigate the invisible economic systems of our world. Because without mastering that, even a well-intentioned player is essentially playing the game blindfolded.
So, here is the absolute crucial point. You can master all four sides of that square. You can be super healthy, financially sharp, expressively alive, and deeply connected to your friends. But you can play a perfect personal game and still lose the larger one. Let the weight of that statement sink in for just a second. The moment a person dies, what happens to their beautifully mastered 2D square? Well, it collapses right along with them. A life measured solely by personal dimensions is a life that literally ends at the grave. And honestly, that is only the very first layer of the game.
Which brings us face to face with the missing dimensions, prompting us to ask two massive questions. What am I leaving behind? And for whom am I actually playing? The reality is, every single generation inherits a world built by previous rounds. The roads you drove on today, the economic systems you rely on, the institutions, literally the quality of the air you're breathing right now, these aren't just natural givens. They were shaped by past players you have never even met. And guess what? Future players are going to inherit exactly what you leave behind.
This completely shifts how we view the game of life. It isn't some single-player campaign. It's a multi-generational relay race. And this brilliantly illustrates the difference between two types of players. You have the unconscious NPC, or non-player character, who just runs a default societal script. They're constantly looking around asking, what can I extract from this round for myself? But the awakened player? They stop, they break the script, and they ask, what positive legacy am I building before my turn ends? It is a fundamental, radical shift from extraction straight to contribution.
So how do we upgrade our own scoreboard? Well, we take Shinn's 2D square and we sort of pull it out, extruding it into a complete 3D cube. Now, the four personal faces, health, expression, relationships, and prosperity, they remain exactly as they were. They're still intact and they're still absolutely crucial. But we upgrade our success criteria by adding two totally new faces to give the whole shape depth: community, legacy, and nature stewardship. And suddenly, just like that, we have a fully realized three-dimensional success model.
Let's take a deep dive into that first new dimension, community legacy. This one asks a really tough question. Does your life actually strengthen or weaken the wider human relay? It's all about the positive contribution you make to generations after you, leaving things like institutions, knowledge, moral habits, and social trust in way better shape than you found them. Think about it. A personally successful CEO who leaves behind a deeply toxic workplace or a fractured family, they are handing off a remarkably heavy, difficult relay baton to the next runner. The cube forces us to confront that.
Then we have the second new dimension, which is nature stewardship. This is literally the physical stage of the game itself. The air, the water, the soil, the climate, the whole shebang. It's kind of fascinating how most traditional success models treat nature as if it were just this infinite, indestructible backdrop that we can use up and ignore. But it's really not. It is the living stage that hosts every single generation of play. And if you win your personal game while degrading the stage for future players, well, you haven't actually understood how the game is played at all.
Which brings us to a really tough environmental reality that every awakened player eventually has to accept. And it's this: away is not a real place. When you throw something away, it goes somewhere. The energy you use to power your life, it comes from somewhere. Every single round of play leaves a very real footprint. So living with environmental consciousness inside the cube means treating the natural world like you're its custodian, rather than just acting like a blind, endless consumer.
But here's the catch with all of this. A cube is really just a measuring instrument, right? It's a hollow box without an engine. So what actually powers it? Well, there's a profound question right at the very center. It's that pivotal moment a player finally stops running their mechanical NPC script and asks themselves, who am I actually? Why am I playing this way? What is this game really for? This internal engine, this ongoing deep why, is the core of what separates a truly awakened player from someone who is just putting on a sophisticated act.
You see, you absolutely need both the internal engine and the external faces working together. Because awakening without practical success criteria, that just becomes vague spirituality. You kind of just float away from the realities of the material world. But on the flip side, having success criteria without the awakening just becomes pure mechanical achievement. You could appear perfectly healthy, environmentally responsible, and community-minded while still just managing your PR image. But when that why is firmly at the center, everything transforms. Health becomes genuine care for your body, not just vanity, and prosperity becomes a tool for responsibility, not just blind accumulation.
So let's summarize this entire paradigm shift. The 2D square is an excellent, totally necessary foundation. It truly is. But it only measures a successful round for one single person. The 3D cube, on the other hand, the cube measures a successful series. It is the only framework that encompasses the true multi-generational reality of our shared world. And the only way to actually play the cube is to be awake enough to constantly ask yourself why you are playing in the first place. Which brings us right back full circle to the very beginning. We are all just guests in this incredibly complex, beautiful hotel we call the world. You are holding the baton right now. You are actively shaping the board for the next players. So the ultimate question I want to leave you with today, the big thought you should absolutely take away from this explainer, is this: in what state is the room you are checking out of? Take a moment today to really think about the legacy you are building. Thanks so much for joining me on this journey.